Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the He's on Fire podcast. I am your only host today, Jay Joyce. You can find me on Twitter at that handle or at the He's on Fire podcast Twitter, TikTok, and also follow Arizona Sports Underground as well. All the links are in the description down below. We are going to be starting a weekly recap show for the off season, just keeping up with Suns news and all that stuff. So if you have any questions when you join, I'll answer them accordingly. But we're just going to be talking mostly Suns and stuff today because there's a good amount to talk about. I'm in the process of waiting for this Diamondbacks game that's supposed to be going around 6:30 against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays are doing pretty good this season. So I got a new projection set. You can't see it, but it's currently off screen right now. But this is going to be the first game I'm going to watch in here. I'm really excited. I got my whole lounge chair and all that stuff. But just to kick off, I do want to shout out John from the Suns Jam Session podcast for not only having me on, but Evan as well, talking about small forwards in the free agency market. That show was really fun. If you didn't catch it, it's on our page and also the Suns Jam Session page as well. They just released a power forward video yesterday or this morning, and it was a really good listen. But we have a good amount to talk about. What is going on, Mark? How you doing today, man? I can't wait for the game. We did go through a rough stretch against the Giants. The Giants, we're kind of neck and neck with them currently, but there's nothing like adversity and growing pains. I know Kelly is out, I think is his name. I'm just getting back into baseball, just sort of now, but I know one of the pitchers is going to be out this game or the next 15 days due to a calf thing. So that kind of sucks. Let's just get into some Sun stuff that's happened in the last week or so. A lot of the stuff has happened in the last few days. Starting off, Toumani Camara, the guy that we drafted, 52nd position in the draft from Brussels, Belgium. I thought he was a military kid at first. I still don't think he is. I think that is his home country, and he's lived there a good portion of his life, which is really cool. He had his press conference today. I don't believe they live streamed it, but a very well-spoken kid. He's my age. He played with Anthony Edwards in college at Dayton. A pretty solid guy. We talked a little bit about him on the Suns Jam Session podcast. He's a 3-and-D guy. He brings some size. He's comparable to Baisley as of right now. He will be wearing number 20 for the Phoenix Suns, so I'm looking forward to seeing him, and hopefully Vogel integrates a bench sooner than later, and hopefully we can get these guys reps, the minutes that they possibly need, because we're definitely going to need it a little down the line. But I'm really excited to see what he got. I did get to hear some of what he had to say on PHNX, and very well-spoken dude, very humble, very likable guy, and that's what you need for not only the locker room but for the team as well. So, I'm gonna message him. Maybe I can get him on the podcast. I don't know, but he did say that he might be playing in the Suns Summer League. If you don't know, Summer League starts in July. So it's coming up very, very soon, and I would love to see what he can bring to the table. Not only the Toumani's press conference is going on this week, but also Bradley Beal's on Thursday. That's at 11:30 Valley time. I will be watching. I'm not attending. I don't have that privilege yet. That's happening Thursday morning. I'm not expecting anything special. But I just can't wait to see Bradley Beal talk ball in a Phoenix Suns uniform, really. And he's going to be wearing number 3. Kind of hurts a little bit, sending out Chris Paul and right away giving away his number and stuff. But as soon as the jersey hits the racks for not only Chris Paul, but Bradley Beal, I'm going to be copping those. Thanks for everybody joining right now. All right. Mark Hughes asked, How's Matt Ishima going to deal with the penalties of having 4 max contracts? See, we're going to get into that in a little bit. I just want to go over some of the smaller things that are going right now. Then we'll talk about the whole DeAndre Ayton thing, because that is like the subject matter in the last week or so. So we got the pressers taken care of. And then just today, the Phoenix Suns picked up Ish Strongman Wainwright's player option for, I think, $1.9 million. I don't see why not. You picked that up. He's a good locker room guy. Everyone likes him. And I think he's just a good addition to have around. So shout out to Ish, man. I love me some Ish. And we're not going to be talking about free agency stuff until we have all the guys on. And the tide is going to change throughout the weeks. Still, free agency still hasn't started. It's kind of crazy to think about. But July 1st, we're going to be hitting the ground running when it comes to free agency stuff. DeAndre Ayton's no trade clause ends July 14th. So all these conversations are going to be very, very lukewarm until the ball starts rolling and we get a sense of direction on what's going on. And I think sooner the better with that. So if you have any players of mine that you would like to see, feel free to throw it in the comments and stuff, and we can address that. But the top story right now is DeAndre Ayton and his future for the team, because Gambo's made it a point through the last 2 weeks that he expects DeAndre Ayton to be suited enough for the Suns to start the season. Chris Haynes caught on, about a week later, saying just about the same thing. There's some NBA personalities that have that same belief as well, that DeAndre Ayton is going to be staying. Me, along with the other hosts, Evan and Amit, and I think just about every Suns podcaster out there has said that it's probably better to, trade DA, get some rotational pieces out of them, step 2 or 3, and just, rip the Band-Aid and just move on from the chapter and stuff, because having 4 max contracts is what sorry, I forget your name. Is it Mark Jackson? Yeah, what Mark Jackson said. It's going to be tough down the line, but it seems like Matt doesn't give a fuck, honestly. So, but with the whole DeAndre Ayton thing, this whole DA thing has been split down the middle since he's been drafted. When draft night happened with DeAndre Ayton, us picking him at the number 1, I was happy, and I thought he was a stud. I thought he would provide a lot for us going forward. And for me, I don't put a lot of value in where you rank in the draft. I don't put a lot of value in that because, there's been guys like Greg Oden, and, you can just go down the line, it doesn't matter if you're picked first or last. It's just whatever your impact is going to be measured from that. So a lot of people put a lot of value into the NBA draft. I don't. He's a hometown kid. I thought it was a good story, and we were already pretty guard heavy. So not selling with Trey or Luka, it kind of seemed like a no-brainer at the time, and resulting in DA, I thought was a good pick, and I still believe that to this day. 2020, when we had Rubio and Kelly Oubre, Rubio and DA did a lot of good work together and stuff. The 2019 season, DA was just feeling the court out, feeling the NBA out. So I'm not going to hold the 2019 season over his head. 2020, Rubio and DA and Booker were going through the motions and stuff. We still weren't consistently playing to the highest level because we were still sort of figuring things out with drafting and all that stuff. Bubble season rolls around, and we go on the 8-0 run, and DA has he was a big part of that. So moving to the 2021 year, I think was prime DA when we integrated him into a system of pick and roll offense with Chris Paul, the newest addition at that time, and really integrating him in the offense. And it was huge for this team going forward. And it's very minimalistic basketball, but it's so simple, and it's really easy to understand the concept and why it worked as good as it did for the first few years. As far as we knew at the time, Monty and DA were in a pretty good relationship at the time. and nothing transpired until the Milwaukee series when we inevitably lost in 6. And according to Gambo's reporting, that's when the beef between Monty and DeAndre Ayton started. If you lived under a rock during this time, DeAndre Ayton was brilliant in those playoffs. He went against Anthony Davis, and Jokic, and Zubac, and then he went against Giannis. And that's a pretty heavy assignments. In the center position. But I think Da did a very good job, especially in the Clippers series and the Lakers series as well, keeping up with Anthony Davis until he went down essentially. But DeAndre Ayton was huge in that whole playoff run, and that will never be. I'll just never forget that time. But to blame DeAndre Ayton for the Milwaukee loss is pretty insane, in my opinion. There was a lot of things wrong. We weren't exactly the deepest team compared to Milwaukee. If you're comparing the two teams, Milwaukee was the deepest. They had a lot more scoring punch, and a lot of his luck at the end of the day. I mean, when you lean against analytics and patterns and stuff, it can bite you in the ass, and that's why betting is so. Betting and gambling is just so it's such a crazy thing to do because there's big gains out of it if you get it correct. But Drew Holiday was shooting out of his fucking mind. Chris Middleton was as well, and then Giannis playing to his MVP level, and there were certain Suns podcasters. I'm not gonna air out any smoke to them. I'm not gonna call them out by name. But ever since that 2021 playoffs, especially that Bucks series, that's kind of like where the DeAndre Ayton hate has sort of started, or just brewed up. Really, I don't think it's crazy to say that DeAndre Ayton was poorly officiated. I think it was pretty one-sided when it came to aggression, and that's been a common thing when dealing with DeAndre Ayton and going against these high-profile centers is that he's not treated fairly when it comes to officiating. And I will say this: I've been on record saying, the motor is an issue, his consistency is an issue, but in this 2021 season, he was pretty locked in, and it was during his contract year, and there was a lot riding on what he wanted at the end of the day when it comes to money and staying in this league. But in that finals, I thought he was very. I thought he played the best that he possibly could, considering what was ahead of him when it came to the physicality that the officials let Milwaukee do, and DA couldn't reciprocate that because they just wouldn't allow him to. And him getting into foul trouble early in the last ever since Game 3, putting him in that bind of getting him in foul trouble early really cost this team. And a lot of people don't talk about that, especially other Suns podcasters that put a little blame on DeAndre Ayton for that series. I think it's hogwash and not wanting to point the finger at Devin Booker or Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, all those guys. All of them could have did more. Devin Booker you can kind of leave out of that, but it's on record that he was injured during that series as well. So everybody could have did a little bit better. It's a team effort at the end of the day, but blaming DeAndre Ayton solely on that Milwaukee series is really dumb. And if you think that, you need to backtrack a bit and really think this thing through. Going into the next season, coming in strong, 164 games. It was a really stellar season. It was really fun watching as a Suns fan because we just didn't lose. And starting in that Pelican series when Devin Booker went out, we thought we can carry the load, which we ended up doing. Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. Sorry, I just got a call. DeAndre Ayton was absolutely brilliant in that series, and we do not win that series without DeAndre Ayton, because what Jonas was doing, what Larry Nance was doing, what Brandon Ingram was doing, all playing within the paint and stuff, we would not have won that series without DeAndre Ayton. And if you want to add up the total of playoff series together of DeAndre being consistently good, we're talking the Lakers series, the Clippers series, the Nuggets series, and then half of the Milwaukee series. That's already 4, so like 4 straight. And then that Pelican series would make it 5 that he was really, really good and impactful. And his defense was, not top tier, but, like he was a big anchor. His scoring punch was there, and, all of the above. DeAndre Ayton was brilliant in that Pelican series, and he hit a peak that we all thought a number 1 would bring. Going into that Dallas series, this again does not fall on one player, especially DeAndre Ayton. Jason Kidd outcoached Monty Williams and really made us look like a fool. And every game was a blowout, no matter if it was win or loss. It was swing one way or the other. And how they guarded DeAndre Ayton fucked up our whole offense. And this is where the Monty criticism comes in, because Monty's system is so simplistic that you can, counter it. Like we don't put up a lot of threes. We weren't, even when we had Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, we just weren't putting the 3 numbers up. So we were settling with mid jumpers and pick and roll, high pick and roll, short roll shit. So it was easy to defend this over time, and it just became very routine. And when teams pick up on this, it gets dicey. And that's exactly what it came down to in that Dallas series. Booker was still recovering from him pulling his hamstring in that Pelican series and kind of rushing back. Chris Paul inevitably getting injured as well. And, when your 2 top guys are, like whatever, you're going to double DeAndre Ayton and you're going to prevent that pick and roll from happening. And Dallas was loaded with, 3 knee guys that can shoot and defend and at like all 5 positions and shit. And, that's just what it came down to. And like Monty was outmatched again. I'm not going to talk about that Milwaukee series anymore, but this was a continuous pattern with being outcoached and pointing the finger at somebody, and people were falling into the whole DeAndre Ayton thing. Again, I've been on record with criticizing DeAndre Ayton this whole tenure here because, of course, the motor is an issue. Of course, his consistency is an issue, but I still think he's, a top 5 center in the league when he's on it. And he's definitely not the worst. So after that Dallas series, there was definitely, talks about trading him, doing this, doing that, whatever. And, all of us on here, were willing to give him another shot. And now, fast forward a year here, a year from, last summer, and now we're here with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and everybody else is just sort of, up in the air. So Monty Williams was fired. We have Frank Vogel now, very good defensive coach, coached at Indiana, Paul George's Indiana. They were first in defense for like 2 or 3 straight years, and then Vogel eventually got the job for LA, and I think they were 3rd in defense their championship year. But he's a very good defensive coach. Denver this year, they were only 15th in defense, so I'm not expecting us to have the 1st or 3rd best defensive team, and we really got to see how the roster is laid out when we do tip-off, but I think we can definitely be top 10. We ranked higher than Denver this year, but the numbers I saw was before the trade deadline. I have no idea what it was afterwards. With my biggest issue with this DeAndre Ayton thing, and I don't like DeAndre Ayton aside, my criticisms of Monty Williams are just kind of coming to full fruition the more I think about it. I've always I love Monty to death. Don't get me wrong. But he plays favorites, and I have a lot of issues. I had a lot of issues with just how he was handling things with not only the bench, but the new guys that were coming in. Our buyout guys or just whatever. If you're not like his guy, he's not gonna roll with you. And Terrence Ross came here, and we used him for like 5-10 games, and then we just totally disregarded him. T.J. Warren too. I think if you put him in a consistent bench, unit thing, I think he could really thrive. There was just a lot of issues that I've had with Monty throughout the years. It just seems like he gets outcoached in every series. And Willie Green almost did it in the Pelican series. And I know we didn't have Booker for 2 games, but still, it doesn't really. We won 64 games that year, and we can't just disregard that. Monty having issues with both Jay Crowder and DeAndre Ayton, I think, was huge. When Jay Crowder and DA were both on the floor, they were big defensive anchors, and they worked really well together, and they held each other accountable when they fucked up a play. And I think that was missing this year. Moving Cam Johnson to that 4 in the beginning of the year, I think was a rough adjustment with DeAndre Ayton, and he wasn't looking good. And then we still don't necessarily have a 4, through the whole season and even to this point now. Torrey Craig plays it pretty decently, but, I digress. With DeAndre Ayton, we've come to the point when it's like, do we, with this new CBA stuff, half of it is implemented this summer, and then the other half next summer. Do we keep rolling with DeAndre Ayton? And my answer right now is it depends what lens you look out of. Would be like everyone on this podcast has come to terms, regardless of what happens this summer, we'll be okay with bringing back DeAndre Ayton because a full training camp with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. This is before the Bradley Beal trade. Well, we thought we can get some things going, especially with the new head coach, because that was step one, was getting rid of Monty Williams and bringing in Frank Vogel. Let's get to the comments real quick before I get into the nitty gritty. Yeah, I would love for Jay Crowder to come back, man, but I mean, we kind of ran him out the gym, and I don't think he'll come on a minimum per se. Silver Wolf says, which is cheaper, buying Ayton out or paying the tax on 4 max contracts? I have no idea. I bet Matt and James Jones have those figures, and it sounds like they're willing to roll the dice on just keeping DA for the max 4 years. Which is fine, And then John Paul says he has no motor, can't teach that. Okay, so let's get into this DeAndre Ayton sort of thing going on. And what is going on, Joe? Nice to see you. Thanks for hopping in. But, yeah, let's get into this DeAndre Ayton thing. My thoughts on the whole thing is we have Bradley Beal now. We have Kevin Durant. We have Devin Booker. We don't have Chris Paul anymore. And we're still dealing with a lot of what we're going to do with the bench and the rest of the starting 5. I don't want to give up DeAndre Ayton for scraps. I think he's worth a lot more than that. I would be pretty blown away by an offer for me to consider giving DA away. If it's Wendell Carter, Bobold and Markel Fultz or something, yeah, like give me that and stuff. Those are 3 solid role players. But if the market isn't there, the market isn't there, and we shouldn't act like the sky is falling when a guy like Gambo says that we're going to keep DeAndre Ayton. We've seen DeAndre Ayton, play really, really well. I know the lows are low, and we saw that in the Denver series, but like I hate to use this analogy, but I think just about everybody here has worked a job, and you've had that boss that you started pretty cool with and whatever, and that the relationship is good, but you mess up maybe once, maybe you just come in late on a bad day, and now the boss holds stuff over you, and then you're just constantly grilled, and your mood changes and stuff like that. And I wouldn't call that babying DeAndre Ayton. What is going on, Salty? How you doing, dude? I think when it comes to dealing with a guy like DeAndre Ayton, I don't think you need to like walk on eggshells around him. I don't think you need to coddle him. I don't think you need to baby this guy. I mean, he's my age. I think he can take it on the chin and such. And I think people are kind of overblowing the mental impact that he's had. Like why would you want to play for somebody that doesn't give a fuck about you? And that's essentially what this whole Monty Williams thing is, and I think that's where it starts and ends with. Uh, like I believe there was frustration between the players and DeAndre Ayton. I think the whole relationship was wishy washy, and DeAndre Ayton just wanted to get the bag and possibly move on, and I think he did at one point. What is going on, Sonia? Tuning in from the footprint. Oh, that's what's up. Uh, are they gonna hire a new head coach soon, or did they already? I have no idea. So with DeAndre Ayton, I think people just need to take a couple steps back and really evaluate the the whole the whole picture. I think DeAndre Ayton still has a lot in the tank, and I think Frank Vogel really wanting him, uh, I think it says a lot. I think Da and Vogel could come up with a plan on defense and really dumb his assignments down. Not like he needs it, but like just tackle a couple things like cleaning the glass and defense. And when the bench unit rolls out and DeAndre Ayton is sort of one of the first guys, playing with the bench unit, that's when we attack, the scoring with him, going through him and stuff. I can see that happening with Vogel and stuff. And he worked with Anthony Davis. He worked with Roy Hibbert and I believe Miles Turner for maybe a season. So I think he knows how to deal with centers that can provide a little bit of spacing and all. So I think in retrospect, this Vogel hire is going to be pretty big for DeAndre Ayton if we do decide to keep him. So I think that's step one. Head coach willing to, work with DeAndre Ayton to keep that good relationship going and not just finger point, because I think I can speak for all Phoenix Suns fans and everybody else that's in this sphere that, we do result to finger pointing either Landry Shamet or DeAndre Ayton, and we don't have Landry Shamet anymore. So, all right, Salty, you said, sorry. I really wanted to trade DA, but the value in return is pennies on the dollar. So I'm now firmly in the keep DA camp. Yeah, I am as well. If it just isn't out there, it isn't out there, and I don't want to result in like 4 shitty players. Like we're trying to win a chip now. So John Paul said Katie and Book are in the Bahamas. Aiden ain't there. I've been on Aiden's socials and stuff. He hasn't posted anything. So he might be there. I have no clue, but there's no indication that he isn't there or he is there. So, but I could be wrong. But I think we just need to look at this not necessarily in a glass half full sort of thing, or just like in that way in general. Just because I think DeAndre Ayton can provide a lot to this team if he can provide stellar defense and really good rebounding numbers. I think he can really fit in this system very nicely. Fucking Salty. What is going on, Sunda? How you doing, dude? I think DeAndre Ayton brings a lot to this team, and if the value isn't out there for him right now, I think DA kind of fucked up his value anyway, because a lot of people are looking at him in a glass half empty sort of way, because he did go outside, and it was rough. But DeAndre Ayton has the best legs for a center. I think he's very durable. He spaces the floor pretty well. And I would love for Vogel to integrate some three-point shooting for DeAndre Ayton, a couple threes a game or something. Just to add that spacing for Beal, KD, and Book would be huge. But time will tell with that. But I think people just need to pump the brakes on the the hate for DeAndre Ayton right now, because I think he can be very pivotal for this team. And I know the consistency is a thing. I get that. But if we know his assignments on a game-to-game basis, and if it's just rebounding and defense, that's all we're going to be looking for. And if we're just looking for that, and then he gives some scoring punch when the bench unit rolls out and he's rolling with him and Book or something, like Book, DA, and some filler in the middle, and they're running that bench unit, and, we start having an offensive game plan with DeAndre Ayton through that, I think that could be really huge for not only him, but for the team by itself. I know 4 max contracts is huge, and we're really going to have to, hit the ground running to start the season if we do decide to keep him, because free agency still hasn't started yet. So, time will tell. If he is here after July 1st, he is here for a while. At least until the 14th, I want to say it, because, he can waive any trade from now until then. What did you – oh, God, no. A lot of comments coming in. Thanks for the interaction, guys. You're keeping this thing going. I'm not really into bringing back Busy. We need a legit backup with size for Joker. I don't think there's really a counterpunch for Joker besides locking up everybody else. If we're going against Denver, I would pigeon Michael Porter Jr. on offense and, attack him as much as possible. Beal, he likes to go downhill, which is really nice. I think we can just beat Denver purely off of scoring alone, and they're not exactly the deepest team. I don't think I don't think there's a counterpunch for Joker. I think it's attacking everybody else. Having Jamal Murray uncomfortable, not having Eric Gordon open all those backdoor cuts, watching KCP in those corners. There's things in there that we need to stay on, and we never ran man coverage in during that Denver series. We rarely did, and when it did work, we did go on some scoring runs. Man, a lot of interactions in here, guys. Thank you. Joe says, I am an Ayton apologist. Yes, I like to see him play more aggressively, but he's a big who can keep on the floor against small ball lineups and makes his free throws. Not many bigs do that. Yeah, I mean, the center position is very thin, man, and it depends what you're looking for. And trust me, I'm all in favor of bringing back Clint Capella and Sadiq Bey and DeAndre Hunter in a trade. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think Atlanta would do that for a guy like DeAndre Ayton. A guy like DeAndre Ayton doesn't come around quite a lot. Same thing could be said about Jokic and Giannis, and Embiid. But DeAndre Ayton is in a tier where he can provide spacing on the floor, give pretty good defense. He's a walking double-double. And he averaged 18 and 10 this year, and that was with Monty, systematically writing him out of offenses and stuff. And he was still putting up those high double numbers. And I think as long as we not even give him the rock, but just give him an assignment to tackle, I think would just be great. He's exactly the kind of big Vogel wants. Steven Adams comp. Yeah, I can definitely see that. With the Busy, I don't know. We just need big man depth, and we can keep him around and stuff. Hope Kevin Young shows out. I think he will. And when he has the abundance of riches of having Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, all three of these guys can bring up the ball, start their own different plays, interchange the plays and stuff. Our offense can be very, very complicated with these three guys, and as long as they know what's going on, I think it'll be very hard to guard this team just in general. Trey Jameson, I'm gonna check him out. I don't know everybody that's gonna be playing with us in summer league, but I know we're looking at free agents for tryouts and stuff. I would love Stanley Johnson. I hope we get Stanley Johnson. Because he provides that defense exactly what we need for the bench. And this is what I don't understand. I try not watching sports, shows on, Fox and ESPN talking about the Suns, because usually they just don't get it when it comes to Phoenix Suns stuff. But John Paul says we took Denver to the limit with only Book and KD, and we have a shot. And if you listen to the Coast to Coast podcast, it turns out Kevin Durant was dealing with some injury stuff during that series too, and he was still putting up 40 inconsistently and not efficiently, but he was still putting up 40. And him and Booker were carrying, and we almost took this series 7 if Chris Paul didn't go out in a box out. But like Nick Wright saying, the Lakers getting swept is better than Phoenix taking 2 games, almost 3 off of Denver is pretty hilarious. So I just won't listen to the outside noise and all. What's going on, Classy Nasty? That's a funny name. I like that. Yeah, a lot of comments in here, guys. I really appreciate it. From Gabo, let me know if I pronounced that right. Maybe Ayton has ADHD. Usually people with a need to be handled differently. Hopefully Vogel taps through. Hey, maybe. And if that was disregarded by Monty, that's another shitty thing that he did. Yeah, Nick Wright has a thing against the Suns, man. He's just never really addressed the issue. But the one thing he was right about was going into the playoffs, saying like he doesn't know if the Phoenix Suns have enough to get to the finals. And if anybody heard Phoenix Suns fans, we were already at peace of not making it, to the Western Conference Finals or the finals in general, or just winning the championship, because we knew from the get-go, from the start of the season, that this team was not built to make a championship, because we were in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, and with that whole Rudy Gobert thing that happened over the summer, the DeJounte Murray thing, the Kevin Durant trade request, like so many things stalled out the market. In Denver, they capitalized on that. They picked up what they needed. They got KCP, they got Aaron Gordon the year before and stuff, and they just kept on adding and adding, and it resulted in a championship. And I'm not gonna talk shit about Denver's championship and stuff, but I mean, luck comes with every ring and stuff. So let's take a flyer on Dwight Howard. I don't know if he still has a lot in the tank, but he seems to be good juju, and Vogel really liked him. The Jokic stopper. I like Jokic really stepped it up in the playoffs, man. He kind of shut me up about the MVP stuff. I just haven't watched a lot of Denver games for me to definitively say, like Jokic was the clear cut, MVP. I watched a lot more Sixers games last season than I did Denver. But to sort of cap this whole DeAndre Ayton talk, I think everybody just needs to take a breath and judge the team when it comes to tip off. Because we only have like 5 guys on the roster. We still don't technically have Tumani Kamara. We can still deal him in the trade and stuff. I'm not expecting any out of the world, trade offers to happen for DeAndre Ayton. I'm just really not. But as the summer progresses, teams are going to start looking through a different lens when it comes to building the team and wanting to build now. And they might look at DeAndre Ayton in a different light and say, like, we need that spacing. We need a big that can move like that. And I think Boston was pivoting towards DeAndre Ayton until, the Beal thing happened and Porzingis became inevitably available and stuff. And so that's just sort of the thing that's going on right now. The best way to counter Jokic is for sure making him work on defense, because, he's in really good shape. I mean, he has really good cardio, but, if you have him working, he can, there's definitely ways to, slay the beast, I guess. If Miles Turner is offered, would you take it? Depends who's in the deal. If it's Turner and McConnell, absolutely. If it's Turner and Hield, I'll be a little more hesitant, but I may pull the trigger on that just because, the money works, and I think both all 3 of those guys are pretty decent. I'm just reading through the comments, guys. Sorry. Man, a lot of interaction. I really appreciate it. Patrick Beverly. He's on my very short list of guys I do not want on this team, and I'm sticking by that. I just made an exception for Draymond Green if he was to take a minimum, which I don't think he's going to. But I don't want Pat Bev on this team. If I want a point of attack guy, I'm looking at Alex Caruso. Sorry, I'm looking at Alex Caruso, a guy like that. Not high expectations, but you know what he can do on the floor. So, but as the summer progresses, free agency is going to be in the Suns' favor. Teams are going to get desperate. Teams are looking into the future. We don't know the status of Damian Lillard and how that's going to shake up the rest of the league. We don't know what Boston's doing with Jaylen Brown. I expect them to keep him now. I think that's pretty likely at this point. There's going to be a lot of movement, man. With Chris Paul going to Golden State, I'm not necessarily buying it. It's not really a needle mover for me. Do y'all follow Zen on Twitter? Because he mentioned moving DeAndre Ayton to his natural position, playing the 4. What would y'all think if we bring in a actual center and move DeAndre Ayton to the 4 and having a starting lineup of Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, and question mark center to roll out to start the season? How would you all feel about that? It's an interesting idea, but I'm worried about the Twin Tower idea because of Cleveland, because they have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, and they looked not good in the playoffs. And those two are arguably some of the better, centers outside of the top guys, really. And they really couldn't do anything with those two. Maybe it was the system. I have no idea. Any rim protector in free agency not named Lopez. I would love Brooke Lopez. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I don't know, honestly. This team can do a lot of directions. I think the Suns have a lot of opportunities that are going to be presenting itself throughout the weeks. I think we're going to keep DeAndre Ayton, and I want to see him thrive. I want the best for him, and as long as Booker, Kevin Durant, Beal, and Frank Vogel all buy in to DeAndre Ayton and are totally cool with him, and everything that I've heard from the people that I talk to, none of those guys have an issue with DeAndre Ayton, and I'll just keep it at that. What I was saying earlier was I would like Vogel to integrate some DeAndre Ayton threes, maybe a couple a game, run like a Anthony Davis sort of play, have him pop out on the wing or something. Provide the spacing, man, because spacing is huge in today's NBA, and I think that would be really nice. But yeah, I think Lopez would want the bag. But who's to say? Again, like there's going to be players waiting around, waiting for an opportunity, waiting to see what their value is, and it just doesn't come. And maybe they have to do a prove-it deal, and you do that with coming to a championship caliber team like the Phoenix Suns. And that's really everything today. Do y'all have any other questions before I bounce out of here and wrap this up? I really appreciate all the engagement that has happened today. I wasn't expecting all this. I was just getting off work and stuff, and I thought I should make a weekly recap video of everything that's happened in the last week. I think, DeAndre Ayton on this team will be good, and I think we're going to see a different DeAndre Ayton that we've seen in previous years. But I'm really excited for this team. Stop hearing the noise about the depth issue and the defense issue. That's all wash until, the start of the season. And even the trade deadline, I'm not gonna listen to outside perspectives about the Suns, because it seems like everybody has like this sort of hate for this team, and I'm not gonna really get into it in a sense. From Mark, if we get a new center and move DA to the 4, that puts 3 bigs on the court at the same time. Yeah, I like the big concept in theory. I really do, and it just scares me because of the Cleveland and shit, and how that necessarily didn't work. But I don't think they have the best offensive system. I think we'll have a really, really good one. I think we'll definitely have a top 3 offense this year. But having size like that is huge, man. I mean, just throw the ball up. I think if we roll out with what's a center that's available that's realistic? It wouldn't be Lopez. Okay, let's throw Plumlee. If we have Plumlee, DeAndre Ayton, and Kevin Durant on the floor together, I mean that's a lot of boards, man, and not a lot of people can box all that out. So I mean, I love it in theory, but it's up in the air. Any news on the new jerseys? I know we're bringing back the black statement. That's why the Suns are showing it off right now. But I know we're gonna have 3 new ones. So a new white one, of course, a new purple one, of course, and then I'm pretty sure we're coming back with an orange one. I know El Valle is supposed to be a sort of a concept for one of them. I don't exactly know which one. It might be another black, city edition jersey. I have no clue, but I know the Suns have the best, jersey rotation in the league right now. And I'm not even trying to be biased, but a lot of these teams only have like one uniform that's like, all right, pretty decent. But then, you look at the Suns and we have like 3-4 jerseys that kill the rest of the league. So, but I think that will wrap us up for today. If you have any questions, add me on Twitter, message me, whatever, I'll get to you. If you don't know my Twitter, it's Jay Joyce. You can find me there or on the He's on Fire podcast Twitter or Facebook. You can find all this there. And check out Arizona Sports Underground, some football content from Joe. From the Cardinal Roll. He's constantly putting up great content. Please check him out if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan. He really dumps stuff down for a casual watcher like myself. But he does great work there along with everybody else on the Arizona Sports Underground page and group. So please check him out. And we will keep on pumping out content. I'm going to talk to Ahmed about possibly doing an After Dark show a little later on this week. I want to talk about some Batman stuff because I've been buying Batman graphic novels and stuff, and I want to get Dan Duarte on here possibly to talk about some Batman shit. Some geeky stuff. Some nerdy stuff. So, but yeah, follow us on Twitter, all that stuff. Follow me on Twitter, and the Diamondbacks game just started, so I will be watching that. So again, I appreciate everybody for coming, and go Suns, man, go Suns. Have a good one.